Beans, beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Beyond the reach of human range, a drop of hell, a touch of strange. I do not aim with my hand. He who aims with his hand has forgotten the face of his father. I aim with my eye. I do not shoot with my hand. He who shoots with his hand has forgotten the face of his father. I shoot with my mind. I do not kill with my gun. He who kills with his gun has forgotten the face of his father. I kill with my heart. First come smiles, then lies, last is gunfire. The man in black travels with your soul in his pocket. Shall there be truth between us as two men? Not as friends, but as enemies and equals. Alright guys, Kingless Jester here once again, and today we are doing another deep dive into, you got it, Stephen King's Multiverse. Today's deep dive is going to be focusing on none other than the journey that started it all, which is The Dark Tower, The Gunslinger. The Gunslinger was published in 1982. It is in fact Stephen King's 8th published novel. Yes, we do have the Bachman books, but we're touching on those after this series, just focusing mainly on the Stephen King books. But right now we have The Gunslinger. And let me tell you, The Gunslinger is by far, arguably, one of the best sci-fi fantasy books out there. A lot of people think it may be a little too slow, but I mean, this book opens up with what I think is the best opening line in any book. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. You just read those lines, you read that sentence, and I mean, you're like, I've got to get in. I've got to find out more. So let's go ahead and get into it. The Gunslinger is more along the lines of a Western fantasy novel. I mean, it takes place in like an old West type world. I mean, it really introduces you into what we later on know as Midworld, where our hero Roland Deschain, where he's from. So we start off the story, and we're right there with Roland. Roland is trekking through the desert. He is going after the mysterious man in black. All right, we'll go ahead and get into it. So the first connection, I mean, should we really even say it is the first book in the Dark Tower series? I mean, that alone, boom, it's connected to the multiverse. That alone connects it to so many other books. It connects it to all the books that we've mentioned prior, past 7 books that we've brought up. You can go ahead and connect them to the Gunslinger, because the Gunslinger is part of the Dark Tower series. But without that in mind, we have Randall Flagg. Randall Flagg is arguably King's biggest, baddest, best villain that he's ever come up with. And like we've touched on in The Stand, if you feel free to go back and watch my deep dive on that, Randall Flagg is, in fact, the main antagonist in that story, The Stand. So we not only see him in The Stand, but we also get him in the Gunslinger and throughout the Dark Tower series. We get a little bit of his backstory in the Gunslinger. He's not necessarily going as Randall Flagg. If you know, Randall Flagg has many different aliases, and he's using one of those in this world. So right there is, I mean, a massive connection. That right there connects it to The Stand. It also connects it to The Eyes of the Dragon. Eyes of the Dragon is also like a fantasy book written by King. We'll get into that later on. But that book takes place in world. It takes place in Midworld, in this multiverse where Roland Deschain and all his happenings go on. So this book, Eyes of the Dragon, takes place in that world. It also none other has what Randall Flagg, once again coming back as a villain. I'm not sure. He may go by Randall Flagg, or actually I think he goes by the name that he starts off in the Gunslinger, which is like he goes by Merlin, Walter O'Dim. I really like Walter O'Dim. That's a really cool, like, mysterious name. So right then, that is a hard connect. You got Randall Flagg. You can't get any bigger than that. Another connect I would have to say is relatively recent. I mean, it came out within the last few years. it would be The Outsider. The Outsider is also a book written by Stephen King, duh, of course, and it has a creature that is mysterious. This creature is very Pennywise esque, but he actually makes a statement that we hear in The Gunslinger. There are other worlds than these. We hear that throughout King's stories, throughout King's books, and it really just touches on the multiverse. You know that there are other universes, other multiverses out there where similar things are playing out, and the events that play out affect the wider picture itself. So that right there, I mean, boom, you got a connection to The Outsider. Another huge connection. This connection, I mean, arguably, this connection is just as great as the Randall flag, and it's the 19. This is where we really see King bring about 19 for the first time, and it kind of follows through in the rest of his books. So in The Gunslinger, 19 is brought about because Walter O'Dim, Randall Flagg, he's doing some mysterious things. He pretty much, I don't want to get into too many spoilers, but he does some like witchcrafty stuff where he like gets a guy in like some weird trance where when someone says the word 19 to him, that he pretty much gets to see what death is like, or what's on the other side of death, or hell, or whatever you may want to think of that as being. And that right there, 19, I mean, that's huge. You see that in so many of Stephen King's books. And why it's one thing that's interesting is Stephen King actually started writing The Gunslinger when he was 19. So I don't know if that plays a part, if that has something to do with it, but I mean, that definitely, it's interesting. I mean, 19 is so pivotal. And then we have none other than the connection to Insomnia. Insomnia is another book by Stephen King we'll be touching on. But Insomnia, the big bad Insomnia is the Crimson King. Now, the Crimson King is also vaguely mentioned in The Gunslinger. He's kind of what you perceive to be the puppet master. He is the Oz, the great and powerful, is kind of running things behind the scenes. That Randall Flagg, Walter O'Dim, he actually works for the Crimson King. So, I mean, that right there connects The Gunslinger to none other than Insomnia. And I'm sure there are many more connections. I mean, The Gunslinger is just the beginning. I can't wait till we get into, the other books in the Dark Tower series, because, I mean, the connections, they just get bigger and bigger. I mean, they do. They truly do. But, yeah, I think that's it, guys. I mean, The Gunslinger is a great read. It's got some slow parts in it. It's definitely the first book in the series, so I mean, there's going to be some slight issues in that aspect. But I mean, other than that, I mean, The Gunslinger is great, and I highly suggest one reads it. If you're a King fan, if you haven't touched the Dark Tower series yet, I mean, you really do. You're doing yourself a disjustice by not doing that. But I mean, yeah, guys, if I missed any connections, or if there's something that you guys can think of that I didn't mention, or if you just want to bring up something, feel free to talk about it in the comments below. If you like this video, I mean, guys, I would really appreciate it. Smash that like button. Hell, smash that subscribe button. Anything will help. I mean, I will take you guys' suggestions in. If you guys want me to cover something or go more in depth or in detail on a topic, I will definitely be happy to do that. But yeah, guys, I think this is going to go ahead and wrap it up here. The Gunslinger. It's a great read. Get into it. Till next time, peace.
I'm just good at caring too much. I'm just good